does it mean? You are from there.
I don't know. It's from Maldives. I don't know.
Yes, it's a name that in the if approved as the Attorney
He's
General.
a farafara. I am not.
The Attorney General and then Minister for Justice. It will be mentioned for a very long time, at least for the time being. And yesterday he was before the appointment committee of Parliament for vetting, and he's been responding to some interesting questions. He's been making some interesting remarks. Sometimes you put him to the wall, and then he still have to find a way to come out. You know, at that particular point in time, you are asked questions. Some of whom you where is it coming from? But of course, you should anticipate some of these things because people will really dig you up and all that. But one thing that he's been speaking that I want to share with our listeners is in relation to public tribunals.
Right.
And for those who are, IB made the point here earlier about why don't remit that to the main court stream, the judicial system, for it to be handled. One that I personally followed at one point in time, 2012, 2013, thereabout, is in relation to the Judgment Debt Commission. You remember that commission that was chaired by Justice Yao Appel, now a justice of the Supreme Court, retired. In fact, that commission really brought out a lot of things, how the inefficiency of state institutions led to some judgment debt paid, how families who are supposed to be paid certain monies were not given, how people played. In fact, different issues came out in relation to how the state incurred one judgment debt or the other. And in fact, when you appear before the commission, it's a public commission and it's live. Everybody goes there to go and witness whatever is happening there. So it's a commission that is open for everybody, public accountability and of a sort. So
sure.
He's been making the point that the re-establishment of public tribunals is something that he will be pushing for it. He'll be championing to ensure that they are able to bring some of these matters to light and all that. Let's hear him on that particular issue about the public tribunal establishment.
There was no human rights chapter. That was the kingdom. That was the constitution, the fundamental law of the land at the time. There was no human rights chapter. In resetting Ghana, we will reset it in accordance with the 1992 constitution. And the 1992 constitution is very clear, that the sovereign power of Ghana rests in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government should be exercised in accordance with this constitution. Governmental powers includes the powers exercised by the judiciary of our land. That includes the public tribunals. I believe that it is not your view, honorable member, that the public tribunals would not or are not part of the judiciary. They are part of the chapter on the judiciary. And so they will be bound by Chapter 5, the human rights provisions, and the entire constitution, guided by the directive principles of state policy in Chapter 6. And so the proposal in our manifesto is to re-establish the regional tribunals with criminal jurisdiction that is, coordinate jurisdiction with the High Court. And then we will have the circuit tribunals in all the in all the regions, and then also the district tribunals that will also dispense justice in the various districts of our country. And I believe that if they are being regulated, and my proposal or my thinking going into this office is that we will enact a Public Tribunals Act that will be comprehensive, and that will contain restrictions in terms of the conduct of the affairs of the tribunals and the human rights violations that are referenced in the Africa Watch Human Rights report will hopefully not occur. Not under my watch as the Attorney General of this Republic.
Definitely not under my watch. That's Dr. Dominic Akuratenga.
Yes, so that's one of the things that he's been talking about. But he also makes some very interesting revelation. You note that one thing that the previous administration had made us understand, that when it comes to arbitration out of the country's issue that has to go over arbitration and all that, Ghana have been able to use the internal expertise, the local legal brains to be able to get those deals or those issues resolved. He's been making but the point that during the transition period, they noticed that I saw some external expertise, and then they were paid huge sums of money, contrary to what we were made to believe. In our subsequent edition, we'll bring you that bite of the nominee making that point. But of course, yesterday in court, one case that I also came to the voice in relation to the Cocoa Board.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen Kwabena and businessman Seidu Agongo
and his company.
Agricot Ghana Limited.
Limited. Yesterday they were in court before Justice Abuaje Tando, Justice of the Court of Appeal, but handled this case as an additional High Court judge. The ninth defense witness for Seidu Agongo and Agricot was in court yesterday to testify in relation to what he is a work that he's been asked to do, and his name is Dr. Samuel Akutu Bamford. Okay. It's a name that resonates. Bamford Akutu. He is a principal research scientist with School of Nuclear and Allied Sciences, Atomic Energy Ghana. And yesterday, he was in court to submit the findings of a report that he was asked to do perform by the defense, the accused person, particularly lawyers of the second and third, Mr. Seidu Agongo and Agricot, Benson Nuchupi, and there were two reports from the Ghana Standards Authority that came to him to analyze. The first one was prepared by one Korte Papafio, and the outcome of that particular scientific report was what prosecution was relying on to prosecute the accused person. And his, in fact, when he examined that report, he made the conclusion that that particular report that was made by Korte Papafio did not follow the required processes in achieving a result, or to be able to determine whether the sample of a fertilizer is proper or not. So he made the point that processes that were used, the report was unreliable, were so much inaccuracies, it's not suitable, the methodology used was not suitable to the conclusion that was drawn. And in effect, he made the point that the findings that were made and the conclusion was even contradictory. And so that report that the prosecution was using had no scientific grounds. Right. And so you cannot use that one to come to a determination and say that, yes, the fertilizer that we tested is either positive or negative. He said it's the process that we use for water. And that brings memories to the fact one of the witnesses came to court and said that the fertilizer is so worthless that farmers could even drink it as water in their farms and all that. And there was another report that was generated from the material science lab. And then he made the point that that particular report was the one that is more reliable, that is more potent, and that is more fertile. That came out with the conclusion that, yes, that report is reliable because it considered all the elements, all the metrics, and made the point that, and that is the report that the accused persons were relying on to say that the fertilizer, the little bit liquid fertilizer that was purchased by Cocoa Board at the time that was distributed to the farmers was proper and it has no issues at all. So his point to the court was to the effect that the prosecution's result that they were using was inaccurate, was not reliable, and so the court should discount that. The case had been adjourned to the 21st of January. And 21st of June, what will happen is that yesterday, when he was done with his evidence in chief, when he was being led by Benson Nuchupi, lead counsel for Seidu Agongo, when he was done, counsel for Dr. Stephen Kwabena, Samuel Kojo, asked him one question, by way of sealing his mouth. When they seal your mouth, means that, yes, seal your mouth, go out there, don't talk. And next time you come to court, seal, and then you talk. So his mouth was sealed yesterday to come on the 21st, and lawyers of Stephen Kwabena would cross him, examine him after. Then the prosecution will also continue and then subject him to cross-examination. So that is where we have gotten to in relation to the Cocoa Board matter. Already, prosecution caught 7 witnesses, closed their case. Court held that there's a prima facie evidence against the accused persons to open their defense. And then Stephen Opuni came in, called 10 witnesses, closed his case, and then said Agongo and Agricourt are now calling, and the knife is in the witness. But they are facing 27 counts, including willfully causing financial loss to the state. They have denied. The sum involved is 217 million Ghana cedis. So that case, 21st of January, to be back again. Maybe by that time we'll have the Dr. Aini
confirmed as Attorney General, and then because the state prosecution, right?
State prosecution.
Okay.
So, even though now we don't have the substantive Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboadame is gone. The Director of Public Prosecution is functioning. The Office of the Attorney General is functioning. So all cases that are under prosecution are back in court, and that reminds me of the case, or that takes us to the case of
James
Jachi Kwesin. Yesterday, he was also in court from one NDC man to the other. So the Asinov MP was in court yesterday, and the fourth prosecution witness in the witness box facing cross-examination. At the point, the lawyers wanted some information by way of disclosure from the Office of the Attorney General. They filed certain motions and all that. But yesterday, they appeared before the court, and lawyer Chachu Chikata, Venerable Chachu Chikata, cross-examined or subject, concluded his cross-examination of the investigator in the matter. And the case has been adjourned to the 3rd of February. And on the 3rd of February, what is expected is for the prosecution to inform the court the next line of action, whether they are closing their case or they have some more witnesses to call. But what I do know in relation to criminal trials is that once the investigator testify, it's more like case closed. So they will come and let the court know what their pleasure or their instance, what the kind of directive they will be issuing to the court. And when that is done, the court will then proceed to make a finding as to whether there's a prima facie evidence, for which reason James Jachikwesi will have to be called upon to open his defense. And this case is before Justice Mary Mami Ikwa. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What's the update on the disputed seats?
Yes, yesterday the motions in relation to
the stay
of execution, yes, the parties appeared before the court. In fact, we didn't see the numbers that we used to see previously. There was a few of them. Even the substantive lawyer, Eduji Tamaklo, was not there. Gideon Abuchi was the one who was holding his brief. And then, of course, for the EC, Justin Amenuvo was present in court. The NPP side, Gary Nimaku and the team, they were absent. And the court did indicate that there is a proof of non-service. It means that they have not been served with the application from the NDC side. And so when that happened, lawyers of the NDC themselves prayed that the case be adjourned sine die, which means this may indefinitely. So as we speak, Justice Ban Forcing at Japan has adjourned the case sine die. So we don't have any date in mind right now that will report to in relation to that until such time that the case is relisted. So that is one of the things that happened in relation to what happened in court. Then the case of, you notice that sometime in April, there was a military man who was murdered in Kaswa, Millennium City. That case, Ben Lord Abibio, was in court yesterday, and what the court was expected to do was to conduct or supervise the jury selection. And it is the accused person who would select his own jury panel. In fact, there are two of them. Ben Lord and someone, one other, are facing a murder, conspiracy to commit murder. And of course, he himself has been accused for murder. But unfortunately, we didn't have enough of the jurors present in court for the empanelment to be done. So that case has also been adjourned to a later date in relation to that.
Okay, Captain, let me hold you there briefly. During the breakfast review, we talked about the vetting of Energy Minister designate John Jinapowa. He mentioned private sector participation crucial in power distribution, but the Public Utility Workers Union say that they are opposed to that privatization, especially of the ECG. I've been joined on phone by Timothy Nyame, his General Secretary for the Public Utilities Workers Union. Mr. Nyame, good morning to you, and thank you for joining us here on the Morning Star.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Right, Mr. Nyame, you say that you are opposed to that decision to privatize the ECG. What informs your stance?
Thank you very much. But you see, The main heading was to congratulate His Excellency, the President of Ghana, President John Dramani. That was the day. In the course of our conversation, we just managed itself that children. That is all about it. So we reminded His Excellency the interest because of the power sector. So that's questioning His Excellency and his team to be cautious of them. And when it comes to issue of nation, we should also involve the stakeholders. You can also remember that we had engagement with the previous policy administration on the position of PUWU and ECG. So that's why we also reminded him and also wish him well. So that's the whole message that we send to President of the Republic of Ghana.
But Mr. Nyame, you say that you are not in support of privatization of the ECG, but for an agency like the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited, 3,040 meters, about 40% commercial and system losses. Which entity can survive this way?
So you need to privatize before you can be able to buy the meters. You don't need to privatize it before you buy the meters. You see, you have seen the problem. That's the main reason for reminding His Excellency about. See, you have seen the problem. So let's see how to diagnose the problem, see the way. So, because
Mr. Nyame, I'm struggling to hear you. If you can position yourself better for me.
You have identified 40 meters as a problem, and I'm asking you if you may not mind, if you whether the solution is to dispose of an issue that you have identified. That is what we are saying. So we are actually reminding His Excellency that there are better ways or other ways that we can sustain the power distributor rather than this immediately we want to dispose it within a particular number of days. We want to dispose it. You know, when people bring such proposals, we have to take it with caution and do broader consultation. That's all that we are trying to. This is the message we are trying to send.
But what are your concerns, the germane concerns you have? Is it possible job losses?
Oh, well, you know, job loss is also to the grid. I'm not looking at that. We are looking at a sustainable way of operating a national company. We are looking at and what the benefit, how it benefit public utility workers, you know, and seeing that, oh, it's only for the benefit of the members that we have. No, it's for the interest that we start there. That's the interest, the best interest. And we are saying that the so-called experts or people who have ideas, I mean, we should do broader consultation before coming to conclusion on the way forward of ECG. That's all that we are trying to say.
So you say they should do broader consultation. If broader consultation is done, will you accept it? Mind you, let me take you a little backwards to the days of PDS. Workers eventually accepted it.
Workers of ECG accepted it?
Yes, eventually, yes.
Well, but you know, did you have? You know what happened on the PDS? You know, if PDS was operating, when they were operating, you see that they were making euros. Do you know that they were not paying the IPPs? ECG is paying the IPPs and paying other interested parties when they generate revenue. So you see, you can't compare PDS to ECG. So what I'm saying, we need a total consultation and discussion on this issue. That will benefit all of us as citizens. You know, that's all that, so that we don't quickly say we are explaining it because of this. And I asked someone, somebody asked if someone is sick, do we care the person? We can't witness for the person. So please, let's look at it that way.
There's a 7-member committee that has been set up, made up of technical experts, legal experts, financial experts, and some of you in the industry, players in the industry. Are you going to channel your concerns to these members?
Well, it will depend on their posture. Very frankly, it will depend on their posture. You see, and I'm also still saying that in the past, these people were there. In the past, these so-called interest groups, and don't forget that we are in this industry. You know those who have vested interest, for the mere fact that maybe they may have the financial muscle, and that they see that that's the only way they can invest. And we also say that, look, let us look at the broader interests of Ghanaians and customers that CG serves.
All right, Mr. Yami, we'll leave you here for now. Thank you very much. That's Timothy Nyame. He is General Secretary of the Public Utility Workers Union, PUWU. They say they are against the privatization of ECG, and as it stands, they are satisfied with the current framework. And if broader consultation is done in that regard, probably they will accept. Captain is still in studio. Captain,
yes.
we're still talking about some of the cases in court yesterday.
So I was on the point of the Millennium City murder incident where a soldier was killed, and Ben Lord Abibi was expected to select his jury panel, and because of the fact that we didn't have
Ben Lord, you mean the self-styled chief?
Absolutely,
okay.
The self-styled chief who is alleged.
Is he really a chief?
That's why they say self-styled. You know, some people in the area, people refer to them as chief, and then they call themselves chief. Whenever you have issues, you just have to run to them and all that. So he is in the coolest, and in fact, he's not been granted bail. He's still in lawful custody, so he will have to come back at a later date to select his jury panel. And of course, the case with the longest witnesses ever, the bench bank case. Michael Nyineku. Yesterday, the trial resumed before Justice Ifia Sewa Saributri, a justice of the Court of Appeal, but presiding over this case as a High Court judge. And in fact, the witness number 25 for Michael Nyineku appeared yesterday to testify. He's still in a witness box, giving his evidence in chief, telling the court what he knows about this very case. And he's been tendering in a lot of documents one way or the other. But that didn't end there. Today, it is expected to continue. And the indication is that instead of, that the beginning, they made a point that the lawyers indicated that they'll be calling some 61 witnesses. So it was going to be a very long time to before this case concluded. They drop it at the point to 49. But the indication yesterday is that they will have 17 more to call, 17 more, including the witness that came yesterday. So it looked like 16 more, including the accused person himself, Mr. Michael Nyineku. And so the indication before the court is that there are 17 or 16 more, excluding the witness who is in the box today. And tomorrow, it will also continue, where the lawyers have indicated that tomorrow they can accommodate, they can take 3 witnesses at a go. So this is one of the cases that we should keep an eye on. The benchmark case where Michael Nyineku is still calling witnesses.
Okay, Captain, thank you very much. That's Captain Mutala Inusa with court today. You're still listening to the Morning Star here on Simply the Best Station, Star 103.5 FM.